Hey Leap Inspire family, buckle up for a story so raw, so heart-wrenching, and so full of hope that it'll grab you from the first word and hold you tight for the next 12 minutes. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single moment of this emotional roller coaster. Picture Drew, a Chicago hotshot with a shiny Mercedes and a temper as sharp as his tailored suits, sprinting across a parking lot to stop two young boys from slashing his tire, only to freeze when their emerald green eyes, exact replicas of his own, stare back, revealing they're his twin sons, Eli and Logan, out for revenge against the father who broke their mother Rachel's heart. This isn't just a story of a ruined tire. It's a saga of love, betrayal, and redemption that spans years, starting with a muddy blouse and a heated clash, spiraling through workplace tension, a passionate romance, and a devastating betrayal by Drew's fiancée Mira. From Rachel's struggles as a single mom to Drew's battle with guilt, to a grocery store reunion that changes everything, this tale will make you laugh, cry, and believe in the power of second chances. Can Rachel forgive the man who left her? Will Drew earn a place in his sons' lives? Leap Inspire family, stay with us. This story of fractured families and unbreakable bonds is one you'll feel deep in your bones. Drew's heart thundered like a storm as he tore across the Chicago parking lot, his polished loafers slipping on loose gravel, his eyes burning with fury at the sight of two small boys, barely 8 years old, gleefully plunging a pocketknife into the tire of his sleek, black Mercedes, the car he'd worked years to afford, now wheezing its final breath with a pathetic hiss. "Hey, you little brats, stop that right now!" he roared, his voice echoing off the concrete, but the tire was already a mangled mess, and his rage exploded with a stunned, "What in the heck is wrong with you kids?" He stepped forward, ready to scold them, but their emerald green eyes snapped to his, stopping him dead. Those eyes were his, a haunting mirror of his British ancestry, passed down through his grandfather's tales of foggy London streets. His anger evaporated, replaced by a gut punch of realization. These weren't random vandals. They were his sons, twin boys named Eli and Logan, their faces tight with defiance as they glared at the father who'd vanished from their lives after shattering their mother Rachel's heart in a bitter breakup years ago. Before Drew could find words, a sharp, familiar voice sliced through the air. Rachel, her dark hair whipping in the chilly Chicago wind, her hazel eyes wide with shock as she demanded, "What's going on here?" The twins' cries of, "Mommy!" rang out like a siren, and Drew's world spun. Rachel, the woman he'd loved and lost, stood before him, her expression a mix of fury and disbelief, while his sons, his boys, had just trashed his car to settle a score for the pain he'd caused. Rewind to 5 years earlier, a chaotic morning in Chicago where Rachel, a 23-year-old fresh out of college, was already drowning in stress, her phone dead, her alarm silent, and her one good outfit, a crisp white blouse for a make-or-break job interview, now splattered with mud after a luxury car sped past, nearly clipping her on a narrow side street. "Hey!" she screamed, not from fear but pure fiery rage, her worn-out heels pounding the pavement as she chased the car, banging on the driver's window with a fist. Inside was Drew, tall, infuriatingly handsome, his green eyes flashing annoyance as he muttered, "Is this girl completely nuts?" before rolling down the glass. "You absolute jerk. Look at my shirt. Do you even know how to drive?" Rachel spat, her voice trembling with fury as she pointed at the muddy stain ruining her blouse. "Watch your mouth, lady. You were standing in the middle of the road like an idiot." Drew shot back, his jaw tight, his tailored suit mocking her disheveled state. "Already 5 minutes late," Rachel groaned. "You're lucky I don't have time to call the cops." Before storming off, tears of frustration burning her eyes as she boarded a creaky city bus, scrubbing at the stubborn mud that clung like a bad omen. She'd moved to Chicago from a small Midwest town, leaving behind her parents' struggling farm, where her dad toiled in the fields and her mom stitched clothes late into the night to afford her tuition. This interview was her shot to send money home, to ease their burden, but now she looked like she'd crawled out of a ditch. At the interview, her stomach plummeted. Drew, of all people, sat on the panel, his smirk taunting her as their eyes met again. Bracing for rejection, she was stunned when he said, "Congratulations, you're hired." His handshake firm but heavy with unspoken tension, as if daring her to survive his world. Rachel accepted the secretary job at Drew's company, desperate to support her parents, but it was no dream job. Drew was a relentless boss, piling towering stacks of paperwork on her desk, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "What? You just gonna stare at those files all day?" Her first weeks were a gauntlet of cold stares from co-workers, who whispered about Drew's string of failed secretaries, and his biting remarks that cut deeper each day. Rachel's hands trembled as she typed, her heart heavy with worry for her parents, who'd recently traded rice for pigs to survive, a secret they hid to keep her from feeling useless. She poured her soul into video calls with her mom, hiding her exhaustion, but the pressure built, and Drew's cruelty, dumping more files, barking orders, pushed her to the brink. One day, after dropping a stack of papers in the hallway, scattering them like leaves, Drew watched smugly through his glass office door, and Rachel's resolve cracked. She fled to a vacant conference room, sobbing, "Why is he so cruel? I'm trying so hard, God, I'm trying." Unbeknownst to her, Drew overheard, his face softening for a fleeting moment before hardening again. A kind coworker, Paul, became her lifeline, offering coffee and a warm smile, his gentle, "Take a break, you're not a machine," easing the sting of Drew's harshness. Paul's kindness stood in stark contrast to Drew's coldness, and Rachel clung to it, unaware that Paul's feelings for her ran deeper than friendship. As months passed, Drew's demeanor shifted. His gaze lingered on Rachel during late-night meetings, his tone softened, and he moved her desk into his office, claiming it was for efficiency. Their dynamic grew charged, his green eyes catching hers in moments that made her heart skip. One night, at a business meeting, in a dimly lit KTV lounge, drinks flowed, and their chemistry ignited in a passionate kiss, their hands watering, their hearts racing as they stumbled into Drew's apartment, giving in to a night that changed everything. Rachel woke in his bed, her heart soaring with hope, thinking this was the start of something real. Drew's gentle, "You look stunning," as he handed her a dress the next morning only deepened her feelings, and their days grew intertwined. Meetings turned into dinners, his laughter softening her defenses. But hope crumbled in a grocery store when a stunning woman bumped her shoulder and sneered, "You're just one of many girls." Mira, Drew's fiancée, had returned from the U.S., her polished beauty and sharp words slicing through Rachel's world. Drew's silence as Mira spoke confirmed her worst fears. She was a fling, nothing more. Devastated, Rachel fled, later discovering she was pregnant with twins. She left Chicago, leaning on Paul's unwavering support as she built a new life in Colorado, raising Eli and Logan alone in a small apartment, their green eyes a daily reminder of Drew. Paul, who loved her quietly, helped with the boys, picking them up from daycare, fixing their broken toys, never asking for more than friendship, though his heart ached each time Rachel smiled at her sons. Meanwhile, Drew, bound by duty to a terminally ill Mira, wrestled with guilt and regret. Haunted by the night he caught her cheating and learned of her diagnosis. He'd stayed out of pity, but his heart remained with Rachel, a truth he buried under Mira's hospital visits. Rachel's life as a single mom was chaos and joy, mornings rushing to pack lunches, nights soothing tantrums, her parents' health a constant worry. she'd moved them to Colorado after landing a remote consulting job, Paul helping them buy a modest suburban home. The twins, now 7, filled her days with laughter and crayon drawings, but their questions about their dad, "Where is he, Mommy?" stabbed at her heart. One day, in a Colorado grocery store, a cart bumped hers, and Rachel looked up to see Drew, older, thinner, his green eyes wide with shock. His gaze fell to Eli and Logan, and tears spilled as he whispered, "Are they mine?" Rachel nodded, her throat tight, as Logan tilted his head, saying, "You look like me." Over ice cream, the boys chattered, and Drew pleaded, "Rachel, I love you. I always have. Mira was dying. I couldn't leave her, but I never stopped thinking of you." Rachel's chest ached with the weight of years apart, her parents' sacrifices, the sleepless nights, the twins' innocent hope. Paul, ever loyal, stood by, his own heart breaking as he watched Rachel wrestle with her feelings. At a park days later, Drew kicked a soccer ball with the twins, their giggles echoing as Rachel watched, her heart torn but softening. Eli's drawing of their family, including a stick figure dad, brought tears to her eyes. Could she trust Drew again? Drew, free from Mira's shadow after her passing, vowed to be the father his boys deserved, his voice cracking. "I'll spend my life making this right." Rachel didn't have all the answers, but as the twins ran to her, their hands sticky with ice cream, she felt a spark of hope. Paul, watching silently, smiled through his pain, his love for Rachel unwavering. Weeks later, Drew joined them for dinner, the twins teaching him their favorite board game, their laughter filling the house. Rachel's mom, now healthier thanks to Rachel's support, squeezed her hand, whispering, "You're stronger than you know." As Drew tucked the boys into bed, reading them a story, Rachel stood in the doorway, her heart wrestling with scars and possibility. This wasn't the end, but a beginning, a family, fractured but not broken, finding its way back together. Leap Inspire family, this story of mistakes, forgiveness, and love's enduring pull reminds us that even the deepest wounds can heal with courage and time. What do you think? Can Rachel and Drew rebuild their family? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more stories that light up your heart and soul.